Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 7 o'clock, and welcome to our Sycamore Township Trustee meeting for November the 5th, 2020. Tonight, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we are following rules set down by our governor. We're practicing social distancing, and we are Zooming our meetings. Let the record show that all three trustees are here, Mr. Weedman, co-chairman Mr. James, and me, Jim LaBarbera. Please rise now for tonight's invocation. Here's our road superintendent. With that, Mr. Tracy Kellums.
Heavenly Father, we praise you for who you are and what you've done for us. Father, in these changing times, we ask that you keep our country, our state, and our communities safe and healthy, Lord. We pray for our leaders, Father. We ask that you watch over them. Lord, we thank you that we are fellow workers with you, and it is you, Lord, that makes all things possible. Please keep us from pride, boasting, and quarreling, Father. Lord, help us to make wise decisions in the assignment of our roles in the township. Help us to function as a unit in which each part cooperates with the others and a unity brought about by the Holy Spirit. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Please remain standing for our pledge to the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, tonight it's my pleasure to have a special proclamation honoring Lieutenant Michael Flagg. Michael's here with his family tonight, and a lot of support. There's a lot of support. Chief, you brought a bunch of guys with you tonight, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Good guys.
Well, let me read it to you. Whereas Lieutenant Michael Flagg has served the residents of Sycamore Township with distinction for 25 years as a firefighter and paramedic, and whereas Lieutenant Flagg was one of the original firefighters transferred to the newly formed Sycamore Township Fire Department on October the 1st, 1995, and whereas during his 25-year career with Sycamore Township, he has worked his way up to lieutenant, and whereas Lieutenant Flagg has served as a member of the Hamilton County USAR team and as the primary individual charged with maintaining the fire department's fleet for pump, ladder, and hose testing annually. And whereas it is with great regret that the Board of Trustees has been informed of Lieutenant Flagg's retirement from the Sycamore Township Fire Department as of October 31st, 2020, and whereas the Board hereby extends our warmest and sincerest congratulations and appreciation to Lieutenant Flagg and offers him its best wishes on the occasion of his retirement. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of Sycamore Township that this proclamation shall be incorporated within the permanent records of Sycamore Township, and a copy shall be presented to Lieutenant Michael Flagg by the Board. This is passed unanimously this 5th day of November 2020.
Motion to approve. Second.
Vote aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Chief, do you want to say a few words?
Yeah. As you said, Mike, he came on board with the Sycamore Township in '95, and prior to that, he was with Silverton and the Sycamore Montgomery private company. Mike's worked his way up. He's done a fabulous job for us, always been dependable for us to keep our fleet going, and all the testing and that he does. And he is, up till October 1st when he retired, he was running a truck and managing a shift, going out making the runs. The guy's made hundreds and hundreds of runs, saved lives, fought a lot of fires, and he's seen a lot of action. So the old guy deserves a break.
Chief, you want to get up there?
The old You're the old guy.
I kept that out.
Want to take the mask off for a picture?
Sure. 63, I think? Yeah.
Chief, you got to get in your step.
Rob and I used to be partners for a long time.
Oh, wait a minute. Chief, you can take it off. Yep. All right, 1, 2, 3. All right, good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
didn't ask Mike to say anything. Got anything to say?
We don't have to.
How many originals do you have?
Me and Ryan.
Now, you are welcome to stay for the whole meeting, but
Hey, Mike, did you want to say, do you want to say anything, Mike?
Private companies.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Congratulations. Thank you.
Hey, Mike.
see you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Coming in, guys. They were private companies and contractors with the county.
I remember him in the old, he was real skinny and real tall. I've changed over the years.
So Chief said there's only 2 originals left, himself and who, Keith Ryan?
Yep.
That's it.
How many years, Chief, for you?
Total or with the township?
With the township, you're
25.
25.
And then total is 44.
Wow.
Yeah.
You are old.
That's more than Tracy.
It is.
I was, just to give you an idea, I was fighting fires in Kenwood Town Center when it was the plaza.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was just that single strip. Had Carlson's Hardware and them in there,
Kroger.
Kroger's. Yeah.
We have another proclamation. Whereas in 2020, an estimated 57,600 people will be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in the United States, and 47,050 people will die from the disease. And whereas pancreatic cancer is one of the deadliest cancers, it is currently the 3rd leading cause of cancer deaths in the United States and is projected to become the 2nd by 2020. And whereas the 5-year relative survival rate for people diagnosed at all stages of this disease is 9%. However, people diagnosed at the local stage have a 5-year survival rate of 32%. And whereas pancreatic cancer is the leading cause of cancer deaths, largely because there are no detection tools to diagnose the disease in its early stages. And whereas the good health and well-being of the residents of Sycamore Township are enhanced by a direct result of increased awareness about pancreatic cancer and research into early detection causes and effective treatments. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of Township Trustees of Sycamore Township, Hamilton County, Ohio, that November 2020 is designated Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month in Sycamore Township, passed at the meeting of the Board of Sycamore Township Trustees this 5th day of November 2020.
Motion to approve. Second.
Roll. Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera? Okay, next on the agenda, the new business. Zoning case 2020-06P2, and we'll turn this over to our zoning administrator, Skylar Miller.
Yes, sir. So I have for you tonight a resolution that reflects the discussion that we had at the public hearing. Excuse me. Let me go ahead and pull this up for you. Oh, that's my staff report. I apologize. We'll get there. There we go. So I actually have multiple resolutions on this ready to go, but should the trustees choose to adopt or to approve the planned unit development 2 for Cherokee self-storage, I do have that one up here. The conditions that were set by zoning commission are attached as Exhibit A and referenced in the approval. As discussed in the public hearing, conditions are that a detailed landscape plan be submitted that meets all requirements of the Sycamore Township zoning resolution, including a detailed planning schedule and off-site credits on adjoining parcels. Sycamore Township Zoning Commission recommends approval of off-site parking, and applicant provide an easement for required parking spaces. 3, copies of fully executed and recorded easements, including parking, ingress, egress, and drainage, shall be required for zoning compliance plan approval. 4, township approval shall be conditioned on the successful approval of plan as proposed by the City of Blue Ash. 5, any submittal alterations to the Blue Ash side of the plan shall be shown on the zoning compliance plan. 6, applicant shall document existing trees along the northern property line within the area from the right-of-way line back to the building face. Any area that is within the boundary between the parcels, the applicant shall provide landscaping compliant with Sycamore Township boundary buffer requirements. The only additional item that I added that I'm recommending, in addition to what Zoning Commission saw, because of the revised plan submitted by applicant on October 29th. Item number 7 would be any PUD2 approval should be noted to reference revised site plan scheme F as received by Sycamore Township on October 29th, 2020.
Mr. Miller, we had a public hearing, of course, at 6 p.m. this evening on this, but for the benefit of the public who are watching this meeting now and didn't participate in the earlier one, could you explain just very briefly what this project is? You don't need to go through all the detail.
Certainly.
Thank you.
I have it right here, so I'll throw up the quick plan. So this is application 2020-06 P2. This is a application for a 70,500 square foot self-storage facility, 3 stories along Deerfield Road. Let's see here. There we go. And I'll throw this up here. All right. This property is, or this proposal is somewhat interesting because it actually sits astride the Sycamore Township Blue Ash boundary. Let's see if I can zero in on that. There we go. The entirety of the building is on the Sycamore Township side of the plan with supported parking, dumpster, and drainage on the Blue Ash side to the west of the building. So this was reviewed by Zoning Commission on October 13th with the and was recommended for approval with the 6 conditions I just noted. The applicant did modify the plan on the Blue Ash side of this to remove outdoor storage, so like RV, boat, trailer storage that would not be permissible in the city of Blue Ash. All right. So, any other questions or anything else I should add to?
Could you show the exterior renderings also, please?
I can. 1 second. All right, so this is actually the back of the building, the west elevation. As you can see, there's drive-up overhead doors, parking on the first floor. The next 2 levels would be only accessible from the interior, and would be more, people doors, I suppose. Yeah. North elevation is at the bottom there, so that's what would be seen. Looking south onto the property. All right. East elevation, you can see here, that would be the Deerfield Road side of the development. So it's pretty simple, clean lines, but there is the roll-up doors that would be accessible from the front face as well. And then this portion down here, the south elevation, would be seen from 275. Okay.
And I believe you confirmed in the public hearing earlier there was no public opposition noted from anyone who commented on it?
No public opposition. We only received 2 calls from residents who just had some basic questions that we went over. That's it.
Was it unanimously approved by the Zoning Commission with the conditions attached?
I believe so.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
And the
thank you.
6 conditions.
Very
Yep.
good.
Any discussion? Tom?
No.
Okay.
I mean, you want to read that resolution and we can,
Yes, sir. So I have here a resolution approving a planned unit development for Cherokee Self-Storage Development in Sycamore Township and dispensing with a second reading.
motion?
Second.
Vote, Mr. Weedman,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera. Aye. Thank you, Skylar.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is the approval of minutes for the October 1st, 2020 trustee meeting minutes. Now, we have two versions. We have a long version and we have a short version. I'm going to make a motion to approve the short version. Do we have a second?
I will second that.
Okay. Any comments?
Is that
Yes.
version 1 or 2?
This is the short version.
This is version
The
2.
Version 2.
This is version 2, and I think in our October 1st meeting, we all agreed in lieu of Mr. Porter reading the 49 emails that we received, that they would be summarized, they would be listed individually and summarized in the minutes, and a copy of the full email would be attached to the minutes. I thought that was what we were going to go to until we received a notice from Beth in the office that she said that Mr. LaBarbera changed it to read, the township received 47 emails, it's actually 49, in reference to the letter from concerned citizens of Sycamore Township, most of which expressed concern about the hiring process for the new administrator and requested dismissal of Mr. Warrick and the hiring of a new administrator in an open and transparent process. I think that by switching from the version 1 to version 2, we are totally taking our residents and the voice of our residents.
Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say we're going to take that off the table, and let's go to version 1. The long version, I make a motion to approve that. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. A vote on this?
I just have
Mr.
a-
James?
Well, I just have a comment here. I'm fine with either version of these, frankly. My concern is with individually listing all of these in the minutes with the names of the people who put them in. Some of those people, I think, frankly, I thought we should have kept their names out to avoid embarrassing them later. Some of them were misled and frightened and goaded into sending this email from a nasty letter they got. And once they learn the truth about some of these things, frankly, they may regret having made the comments that we are now preserving in our minutes.
But these are
But
public records.
They are public records, and they're publicly accessible either way, of course. But Mr. Weedman wants to include these in there, so I'm fine with that.
Okay, I believe it was improper to have any of those emails read. To be included in the minutes is ridiculous. But we'll move on. I have a motion to approve the October 13th workshop. Do
Can I
we
just
have a
address that
second?
before you, I just got a question for you.
No, we moved on.
Yeah, but
We moved on, Tom.
I just want to ask you a question, because what you just said. When we have 49 residents who sit down at their desk and they send us a note or an email or whatever, are you saying that we should avoid having a conversation about those? Because we have a conversation when we get positive ones in for the fire department or positive ones in for Tracy's department. Are you saying that we should completely ignore those 49 people that sat down and sent in an email? Because
I wanted to avoid this, Tom, but okay, I'm going to say that I could not make an informed decision without all the information. We didn't have all the information. As the elected chairman of the Sycamore Township Board of Trustees, when I let Mr. Porter read the email from a resident prompted by the concerned citizens of Sycamore Township, the letter that was sent to residents, I agreed to acknowledge those repetitive emails because Mr. Porter and Mr. Weedman said this is the way it's always been done. Not reading them and including them in the meeting wouldn't be consistent with our normal policy and procedure. The emails were part of a coordinated effort to defame our administrator. It was character assassination of 2 elected trustees, and the administrator, Mr. Weedman, supported and reaffirmed his conviction in a mass political email sent to residents after knowing that much of this was false. First of all, there's no normal policy to read emails in meetings, and going through meeting minutes, I couldn't find a single complaint in the last 12 years, and none saying anything negative about an elected official of Sycamore Township, employee or administrator or trustees. Several complimenting us on leaf pickup, snow removal. Those emails were paraphrased in a sentence or two. There was one, as a matter of fact, that apologized for spitting on a EMS worker, going back to 2008. There is nothing in the Ohio Revised Code or Ohio Sunshine Laws that states that emails must be read at a public meeting. If allowed, it is a privilege, not a right. In talking with fellow trustees, members of the Ohio Township Association, they are appalled that these emails were read in a meeting and especially surprised that Trustee Tom Weedman, a fiscal office reporter, supported this action. They answer those emails outside of a meeting when they can. As board chairman, no emails with comments considered political in nature or promote a specific candidate or issue will be read. Defamatory material will not be permitted. However, those emails should be answered outside of the meeting when possible. We're here to do the business of the people. Let's move on. Now, a motion to approve.
Motion, a second.
Okay. Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera? Aye. Fiscal Officer, Rob Porter, pay bills, read receipts.
Wait, that was the 10-1 minutes, now we need to do the October 13th minutes also.
We just did. That's what I just said.
No, that was the first.
The first one, okay, October 13th.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Yep.
Okay, vote on that. Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera? Aye. All right, motion, okay, now Fiscal Officer Rob Porter, pay bills and read receipts.
Yes, we have receipts of $981,501.38, disbursements of $2,356,989.15. A complete listing of the receipts and disbursements is available in your packet.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Could you read that receipts number again? I didn't jot the full thing down.
$981,501.38.
Thank you.
Okay, motion to approve, and we have a second. Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera? Aye. Mr. Porter, would you give us the October report? You showed us the September report. Do we have the October report?
October report for
And
what?
every month we have reports. We have reports going back August, September report for the month. So October, we have a report for October. Financial report.
Financial
The
report.
report that you get, we got one the last month for the month of September. The month of August, you show us a report.
Oh, okay, yeah, I thought that went out in the packet, yeah.
No, the October report, do we have it?
Yeah,
In the packet.
We do have a report, okay. So we'll get this every month then.
yes.
Public comments?
I do have a question, I guess. Just from looking at, we got this a few hours before the meeting by email. It was printed a couple of days ago. I'd like to get them a little sooner to have more time to look at them.
She just ran finished running I'll try and get it to you sooner.
Okay.
I'm not trying to
Yeah, just
delay that. yeah.
And I know this is a relatively new thing to be doing this. so
Right.
I understand that. The numbers are varying still, and I have a question about that. The final appropriations figure for the year, and I know we've done some appropriating recently to move some things midstream, but the report we got at the end of August showed that the final appropriations for the year were about $40,108,000. And then the one at end of September, that had gone to 41.5 million. From 40.1, but now this new one is 47.6 million almost, and I don't think we've appropriated that much more in the meantime. Do you know what the reason?
I don't know what they are. I could give you some guesses as to what it might be. I can tell you exactly when but it might be the COVID money that came through, and also the appropriation we made for Ray's salary.
Okay,
Those are a couple things that would add up to.
that would add up to still less than $500,000. Well, maybe a little more than that, but we're looking at a $6 million difference. So I'm just curious if you or Debbie can let me know
Okay,
later.
sure.
I'd like to know that because I
Sure.
want to track these numbers. That's why we're doing these monthly reports. To go
Okay.
month to month.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that, I did not see it. I did not get the email. I was here at the township, so I missed it somehow. But thank you.
Okay.
Public comments, members of the public who requested a Zoom meeting invite will now be given the opportunity to participate remotely. We follow rules set down by a previous board. 4-minute time limit, not a time for a dialogue, not a question and answer period. We could answer your question, and when you're through talking, we could do that, or during the trustees' comments. But please leave your contact information and someone will get back to you. As chairman of the board, I'm adding persons are required to speak in civil, respectful manner and limit comments to township business or operations. Comments considered political in nature and defamatory material will not be permitted. The use of threatening or disrespectful language will not be tolerated. Scholar Miller, do you?
Yes, sir. We have one member of the public that wishes to speak, Mr. J. Janis Jr., and I will unmute him right now.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
They can all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great, thanks. It's my understanding that Tracy Lee Hughes, a Sycamore Township resident, currently serves as an alternate member of the Sycamore Township, Ohio Board of Zoning Appeals. It's my understanding that she is under consideration for advancement or promotion or appointment as a full-time voting member. I would like to highly recommend her. I personally served on groups in Sycamore Township with her. She's a professional businesswoman, a longtime community activist. She relates well to people. She accepts input from other people. She responds promptly to the citizens. She currently sits on the Land Use and Planning Committee. She offers valuable input into that. And I would also recommend her not only to be a full-time voting member, but to chair the group due to the recent resignation of the chair of that group. Thank you for your considerations. Next item is recently Sycamore Township put on their website a public hearing or public comment time period for a $100,000 CBDG grant, which would be specifically for COVID-19 related issues to assist restaurants in Sycamore Township. I'm very disappointed that there is only a 5-day opportunity for people to respond. Apparently it was by email to the planning technician, Steve Ruchelshofer. Subsequent to that date, I contacted the township, made a public records request to see all the public comments. I was the only one. As many of you are aware, I am quite biased and in favor of advocating for disability issues. With this COVID-19, our township with the alternative sites are picking up and dropping off documents, which is the Southside Fire Station, Southside Library, to me, leaves much to be desired, including no curb cuts, no truncated tongues, inaccessibility for high curbs to not only that location for document pickup and retrieval, but the sheriff's office right next door. It's my understanding that at this time there are, my words, gobs of state and federal money that's available to communities, governments that can be used for COVID-related expenses. I would highly encourage all of you to strongly consider that. Since I was the only person that responded, my other question on that is, does my input have any influence on the trustees and administration? If not, who and how would that be determined as to which restaurant would get that money? Do we even know how many restaurants we have in Sycamore Township? And my last item is, and I've handed this, hand-carried this to the 3 trustees and administrator. Residents every quarter get a mailer from a preferred utility supplier, and to me it's very misleading, unethical. It has the Sycamore Township logo on it, and at the bottom, and inside the body of it, you're automatically slammed into that, and it has Sycamore Township logo on the envelope. Says Sycamore Township has chosen Dynergy to be preferred electric supplier. My understanding that possibly might be the supplier or preferred supplier for former trustee Bishop's brother. I'm not sure, but at any rate, I think our township should be advertising, promoting all outside utility suppliers, not just one. Also tells you to complete the form below, mail it within 10 days at your expense. If you don't mail it in, you're automatically turned over. Converted. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Jay.
I actually have a few questions about some of those things. There's nobody else lined up to speak, is there?
No, sir. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Jay.
Mr. Janis did raise a good point about that Dynergy mailing. That's something I brought to Mr. Warrick's attention after I got it at home. I know we have the aggregation program. I think it is a benefit to the residents with what we've set up here. But they sent out a mailer designed to look like it came from the township with our logo on it, on a letterhead designed to look at almost any glance, if you didn't pay attention, like it was coming from the township too, rather than noting they were endorsed by the township or approved by the township. And frankly, I have a problem with that. I know, Mr. Warrick, you got in touch with them about that and got some explanation, but are they going to keep doing that?
They'll do it whatever way we want them to. It's typical that a township that has an aggregation program, that they would let their logo be used in that communication. But yes, I spoke with them, and the next go-around, we'll go ahead and let the board review what's going to be sent.
Okay, and again, using our logo even I think is fine, just not designed to look like it's coming from us. So that's good. They're
Understand.
responsive as to that too. I appreciate that.
If I can just add, we don't have it trademarked. We don't have that logo trademarked as I understand it. So we may, if we want to take the next step, we may want to think about that in the coming weeks.
There are communities that do that.
That may be something to think about doing then.
Yeah, I mean, it prevents, the concern about people usurping, your mark, your branding, and making it look like it's coming from you. You can't stop them from using the name Sycamore Township, but you can't stop them from using your logo.
Mr. Janis also asked about that grant program involving restaurants, and he had asked me about that when he learned about it, and it was news to me, frankly, too. Can someone, Mr. Warrick or Mr. Kellums or someone in the know on that, explain what the program is? I understand there were some short windows of time where things didn't happen.
There are, I don't know how many programs, 5, 6, 110. There are a bunch of these COVID programs. This particular one is from the county, and it's for $100,000 if we get it. And the county very much encouraged us to use that money to help restaurants who have had a horrible time, and we're losing them every day. And so that's what we'd like to do. How we're going to divvy that up among the various restaurants in the township, we don't know yet. We've got some ideas. I believe there's a meeting on Monday where we'll nail that down, and we'll come back to the board and tell you what we think we should do. With respect to doing the compliance, ADA compliance stuff that Jay was talking about, we've got other funds that we can come up with to get that done. Earmarking the $100,000 towards the restaurant side in no way takes away any funds for the kinds of things that he's talking about.
Very good. And as to the ADA compliance, Chief Penny, you might want to speak to that when it's your turn to present your report. I know you've already had some ideas and taken some action in that regard.
Anything else? All right, we'll move on with the sheriff report. Lieutenant Mike Tarr. Lieutenant.
Nothing new this month. I would like to thank everyone in the community that reached out and offered their condolences to the guys following the death of Corporal McMillan. It really meant a lot to those guys. It was appreciated.
Thank you. EMS fire report. Here's Chief Penning, Rob Penning.
Yes, sir. Couple things. The monthly report you'll get I'll email out to you tomorrow. I just finished it up today, and it's on the website currently now. October we had 152 runs that were COVID symptoms. We don't know if they actually turned into cases or not without until they get to the hospital, but our medics evaluate
Chief, could you say
every
that again?
152
In the last month?
in October.
In October.
That were COVID symptoms of the type of run. So the medics will ask, go through the fever, any of the symptoms they have, and if they have anything related, then we classify as COVID symptoms. Doesn't necessarily mean they have it. We have 57 residents that are quarantined in their home currently, and we have 10 that have been released in the last 14 days from being in their house. So it's it's still a work in progress. We're still taking major precautions, PPE, the whole bit, sanitizing. We treat it the same as we have from day one because we have to. So,
Chief, can I ask another question?
Yeah.
Before you go to the next subject. The 57 residents that are quarantined, are they actually COVID positive, or are they in contact with people that were
they
self-quarantined?
COVID positive.
They're COVID positive, okay.
And some of them, there's more than one per house. So,
Chief, when the 14-day quarantine period ends, are they tested again?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
So they have to actually get a negative test before they're allowed to
Yes.
re-enter the community?
We had one of our full-timers that tested positive, and he was quarantined for 14 days. And luckily, the only symptoms he had was fatigue, loss of taste, and loss of smell. Never got a fever, never really got sick other than just that, but he did test positive, so he had to stay in for the 14-day. And then he was retested and he was able to come back. So, the CARES Act expenditures, the next thing, I have some things that I would like to get purchased using the CARES Act funds. Radios, portable radios for our guys. We don't have enough of them that goes around for the firefighters, so they have to share radios back and forth. That's not a good way to keep this COVID thing under control when they're swapping radios back and forth. So we have the opportunity. The COVID money we'll be able to purchase that with the COVID money. We got the medication dispenser that we're going to use to eliminate contact to all the drugs when a medic comes back from a run. This is something that we've been wanting to do for years, and we should be doing, because under the Board of Pharmacy, we get a lot better results when we get audited that we have a dispenser. It works the same as the hospitals have. They go in and they put in their ID and they push, like a vending machine, they push what drug they want and it spits it out. So they're not in the boxes grabbing all the medications and did they take 2, did they take 3 type of thing. It'll count how many they did. So it's a very secure way to dispense medication, and now with the COVID, it's a very safe way to dispense medication because the guys aren't in there handling all the drugs. So we're wanting to get that. We're looking at 2 more Lucas devices. We got 2 now. We want to get 2 more for the first responder trucks, and those are the CPR, the mechanical CPR. And right now, those Lucas devices are the hardest working employees on the department because you put that thing on a patient and it CPRs them from the minute you turn it on till they get to the hospital and you turn it off. And they've been gold for us, because I can't tell you when you go in on a CPR patient how many times you stop CPR to do things. Putting them on the cot, moving them down steps, in the squad, taking corners where you get thrown around, everything. You stop CPR so many times, it's just crazy. This machine's on them, it straps on them, that thing's doing this the whole time. No matter what you're doing, no matter how you move them, no matter what, it's constantly doing CPR. And the survival rate is like in the 30 percentile of differences between people that have used the Lucas devices versus the ones that don't. So they're a very good machine. They're well worth their money. And like I said, we have one on each squad now. So we can use this COVID money to purchase 2 more. It's been approved. And this will allow us to put them on the engine. So if the engine gets on the scene far long before the squad gets there, that they can get it on the patient and start the CPR right away. So
How much are those units?
those units are about 18,000 apiece. Two of them is 39,000, so it's almost 20,000. And then the other thing is we're going to replace the sofas in the firehouse. We got dirty, dingy cloth sofas COVID money will allow us to replace them with kind that can be cleaned and wiped down, like a vinyl or a leather or something like that. So we want to take advantage of doing that as well. We talked a few years ago about adding that third power cot to the third ambulance. The COVID money will also purchase that. So we might as well take advantage of that, so we're not taking it out of our budget. So total, it's around $260,000 for everything. We can get everything we need for that price, and that still leaves us with about $840,000 in the bank for additional funds.
I would point out to the board that this is information only. You've already approved. And I will also point out for the record that we put the COVID language instructions in the original resolution that set us up to be able to take this money. And then in any subsequent appropriations, that COVID language also exists. And we're following those instructions to the letter of the law. The chief has put together a very thorough tracking system where everything is listed in a spreadsheet. All of the invoices are attached. And so I think we're in very good shape if and when there should happen to be an audit on this stuff.
The October 14th, I believe it was our first audit due, and I did that, and I was able to attach all the invoices that we used and document in the audit how much we received, how much we spent, how much we have left over. So we've already got one audit under our belt, and I'm be doing the second one here in December. And we have the opportunity right now. There's COVID money available for reimbursement. Right now, the township has eligibility of like $248,000, and I'm going to take advantage of that by taking all the expenditures that we have had from March 1st to July 7th when we received the first CARES Act funds. Everything after July 7th we paid for with the CARES Act funds, but prior to July 7th we paid for out of our budgets. So we have the opportunity to file those invoices and get reimbursed for everything back to March 1st. I got some of Tracy's, I got admin stuff, and I got fire stuff. So as soon as I get everything together, I'll apply for that. And I've already been in emails with the people from the auditor, and they're waiting for us to send in our stuff. So I'll be doing that probably next week. I just want to make sure I got all the invoices that we can count as a COVID reimbursement. So we'll be 100% with being able to get our funds back.
Chief, the items you mentioned from March 1st to July 7th, those were not items that were previously budgeted for?
No.
Okay.
No, they were all the items that the COVID forced us to. Mainly, it was the beginning of getting our PPE stockpiled, the sanitizer stuff, the park stuff that they had to do. They had the maintenance had to go out and start spraying all the park equipment, the signage that they had to do for the parks and that. So all that stuff we purchased before the July 7th. So we'll be able to get the reimbursement back on that. We actually even bought some teleconferencing equipment to start our Zoom meetings that we were doing previously before July 7th when we were doing our Zoom. So we bought equipment for that. So all that we can get reimbursed on.
Skylar, I didn't notice you had it up here when I asked the question about the Lucas devices, but thank you.
Oh,
portable radios, how many does that 139 get us?
How many is it?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I had it. I think it was 18.
18?
I think so. Don't hold me to it, but I'm pretty sure. I think it was. And the radios that we're buying would be the dual band, so we can communicate with Kenwood Town Center and Jewish Hospital and that, because they're on high band, we're on 800. So these would be a dual band, so we can switch back and forth. So we'll use those as our primary radios, and then what radios that we have now will get dispersed to some of the guys, so they're not switching radios back and forth.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thank you.
Then you have another item, Chief.
The next thing is the full-time hiring. We have 2 candidates that are anxiously awaiting to get on board with Sycamore Township Fire Department. One guy is from Reading, and one guy's from Deer Park. And the best way to do this would be, we're still finishing up some details on physicals and that sort of thing, but the best way to do this is if I get the information to you guys by the 17th, the November 17th meeting, if we pass the resolution for their salary, then we would be able to put them on the schedule and actually start working them anytime after the 17th. And then the first meeting in December, we can do the swearing in and just play catch up with that.
That's good.
So that way, since we're down 2 guys now on the roster, that way, after the 17th, we can get them on the schedule as soon as possible. So I got between now and the 17th to get all their backgrounds done and get their physicals done and all that stuff, which is doable. So we should be okay. So after tonight, I want to be able to contact these guys, tell them that expect to be hired right after the 17th meeting, so they have the opportunity to tell their present employers they're giving their notice.
Okay, do we need to do a motion to let him go forward with Deepak, or just?
I thought at the last meeting, there was a motion that was passed allowing him to move forward with hiring.
To start the process.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the only thing we need to do is, once you establish the rate of pay, we'd bring the resolutions for
Right, and that's the
that.
only thing I want to make a point tonight is that if we, on the 17th, if we can do the rate of pay, then they can officially be hired. So I can kind of give them a timeline on when they have to notify their employers of what they're doing.
Chief, if you can email me those rate of pays, I'll
I
get
will.
those resolutions together.
I definitely will do that.
Thanks, Chief. Any questions for the chief?
Well, are those rates set by the union contract?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so standardized. Other question I had was that Mr. Janis had asked earlier actually about dropping things off at the firehouse.
Yeah.
I know you've made some changes in
I
progress.
did make some changes, couple things. We put a table in there, got rid of the box on the floor. It's still there, but the table set up with ingoing mail documents, outgoing mail documents, and then there's a space to put plans and things. So when they come in, they can just get it off the table. They don't have to reach down the box and get it, which is kind of cumbersome, I guess, for people that have problems bending over and that sort of thing. But on the curb cut, I need to get with Tracy. We need to, I don't know if they can do it. I think that's probably a good idea. I mean, where the curb cut is now is over where the main doors are, that is close to the elevator to go upstairs. And I think that the intent of that was that be the direction for public access, to go in, go to the elevator and go upstairs, which is basically a public meeting room. But the doors on the side are our main doors, and it probably would be a good idea to have a curb cut. I'm thinking not on this side, because there's only 6 parking spaces there, so a curb cut would take up 2. Because you'd have to have a handicap spot and then an opening for the curb cut. But the first parking space facing Kenwood Road, which is just literally 6 feet from where the other parking spots are, we could take that first parking spot and put a curb cut in there, put a ramp there, and then you dedicate the next parking spot as the handicap spot, and they could walk right up that ramp and just, I mean, the length to get to the door is probably shorter than what they park out here to get to these front doors. So it would be equivalent. And because we use that as the main entrance, and the police substation is right there too, we get a lot of people that come in wanting to talk to the police and that. Some of them don't walk so well. So, as a matter of fact, we had a guy today that tripped over one of the parking spaces and went down on his butt. And he wasn't hurt, but you know the potential's there because you got a step off and then a curb, so the trip hazard's pretty high right in there. So it would be a good idea. We can use the COVID money to do this. It's totally 100% doable. So we'll do that, and I think it's probably a good idea just to go ahead and get that set up there.
And while you're doing it, if you guys are gonna be doing all that, I think you should do Schuler in the front there, because isn't the curb cut on the side? You know where I'm talking, when the sidewalk going straight in?
On the driveway side?
I
For the
believe
community
curb
room or the
cut's
fire
on
department?
front of the building.
Community room,
Oh, the community
sorry.
room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but guess we could.
Look at
I mean, the COVID money will pay for to create that, because it's a modification of the grounds of the building because we have to have documents there for people to come pick up.
Sure.
We're forcing them to do this rather than being able to come in a space where we've already set up for handicap.
Why don't you guys survey all of our buildings that the public access is in and see if there are others that need it too? But yeah, especially
Yeah.
firehouse here and up there and the community room, I think, as you said, the ramp may not be in the right place. So anything we can do to remedy that would be great.
Yeah. So if we get the curb cut in there, the table's there set up, that's fine. Two things. In the meantime, we can set it up with admin that if somebody needs a document picked up that's not capable of coming into the firehouse, we can do an appointment and we can have somebody to give the document to them here. The other thing is that if they call me or call the firehouse prior to coming, we can take it out to them. You know, I mean, if we know they're there, if they call us on the phone and say, I'm out here in the parking lot, can you run the document out there, we'd be more happy to do that.
And we're happy at the admin building to accommodate anyone with special needs. We are scheduling some contact with members of the public or members of the business community, developers and whatnot. So it's certainly we'll make sure that the community is aware that we'll address those needs on an as-needed basis.
Would it be possible to put a sign on the door over there or here with a large print phone number on it, so if someone pulls up, they don't have to get out of the car to see
Both.
it, at least for now, yeah.
Yep. And on the website.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do so. But
Very good.
we're here to help them. We're not trying to dodge it or pull them away. I never give it a thought that space over there was a difference in the layout of what they're accustomed to. We were just trying to make it work. I mean, originally that box was sitting out here on the front step, but it was out in the weather, and somebody could pick it up and just carry it off. So we decided to take it into at least behind the doors, and I have a camera on that area. So if anything does go wrong, we can look back on the recording and see what's going on. So it is being recorded. So that's the safest place to have it. It's out of the weather and it's being recorded all the time. So it's the best place to have it. But we need to play catch up and get the ground set up for people that need it. So we'll do that. We'll work on it.
Yeah, thanks for taking care of all that.
Thanks, Chief. With the roads, maintenance, recreation report, road superintendent, Tracy Kellums, you and I were talking in the hallway. I had emailed you a couple of times talking about portable signs, and you've already got one on order, another one on order. That'll give us how many then, Tracy?
That'll give us 3.
3, okay.
Are these speed signs?
The speed signs, the
Yes.
portable speed signs would give us the documentation, how many cars went by, how many cars are speeding, how many cars are going slow. Thanks a lot, Tracy.
Absolutely. And I have Mr. Petty here with us tonight, who wants to talk about the Park Advisory Committee. They've had a couple of meetings since Jason's been here last.
Quick question before we do that, just while we were talking about the speed signs.
Okay.
On election day, I had a couple who lives near Glenover in the condominiums over there on, is it Pinehurst? Pine. They were very concerned about speed on Montgomery Road. I know that's not a township road, it's a state highway, but they're concerned about people speeding down the hill past Moeller after they come by the light in front of Moeller at Finley, and wondered, is there anything the township can do to slow traffic down there? Are we able to put one of those portable signs up on Montgomery Road?
We should actually, we should ask the state. The best thing to do would be ask Lieutenant Tar to write some tickets.
Well, that too, yeah.
Because you could put as many signs up as you
Yeah.
want. It's Montgomery Road, it's a state highway. I know people are concerned, but,
those light up
There's a
signs do
lot
get
of traffic on that road.
Oh, I know. Those light up signs do get people's attention, though, at least.
As long as they're there, yes.
Yeah, and then they go
As
away.
soon as we
Yeah.
move them, then
Yeah. Well, if that's something we could do
Yeah.
at some point, even just temporarily with one,
yeah,
maybe
we can
that'll.
temporarily- we pretty much have an agreement with the county. We have not talked to the state. We have not put them on state highways before. So I would want to talk to ODOT before I did that.
Okay. Well, if you could, thanks.
Okay.
Sorry, Jason, didn't mean to interrupt you.
So this is the Parks Advisory report, or Parks Advisory Committee report for September and October. In September's meeting, we discussed yoga in the parks, and we're wanting to expand it in 2021 to more dates and more parks, more locations. The program had 12 to 14 participants a week usually, declined as the weather got colder and there was a few rain days towards the end of the season, so I think that kind of slowed the program down a little bit, and the last day was October 24th. But they did have a really good, a lot of people were coming to it in the short period of time that we had it, so I'd say that program was pretty successful in the short, period of time that we had it.
Also, to go along with that, next year, we're hoping that when cold winter gets here, we could do it at Schuler. Obviously, with COVID being shut down, we didn't feel we could open it up to them. We don't have the buildings opened up to the public at all. So we would like to do that also.
Yeah, that'd be great.
The other thing that we discussed on September's meeting were the parks rules and regulations. So the committee was asked to review the rules and regulations and make recommendations on any changes that they thought needed to be made. One of those, and I think you guys have that packet, one of the changes that they asked they voted that I asked you guys this tonight to change this. So this is the Section 13, disorderly conduct was discussed and a motion was made and passed with an all in favor of moving to entirely remove the third sentence from the section. So I'm not sure which page that is, but it's at the bottom, Section 13. And it is, no person shall enter a toilet room set apart from the opposite sex except for parents to accompany their custodial children. And there was a lengthy discussion as to how that sentence could be read or, changed. And everyone just came to the conclusion of they just preferred that it be removed because it was their idea that the sentence before that pretty much covers anything that would be, any wrongdoing that would be going on in the park anyway, so it was not necessary. So I told them that I would bring that to you guys and that you could make that decision on whether or not that should be changed. The rest of the rules, or the rest of the comments that are in there, there's notes in each section were more so for, adding some things to others. One that was definitely worth looking at was Section 15, rewording of this section. And that had to do with, how alcoholic beverages could be consumed in our parks. I think currently, because this had come up 2 different times last year with people wanting to have fundraisers at McDaniel Park and also an event at McDaniel Park. And the way that reads, we can only have alcoholic beverages consumed in the parks when you rent a shelter or a pavilion. So with McDaniel, there's a, I don't necessarily know that I would consider it a pavilion. There's bathrooms and a concession stand that is not really in service. So there's not really an opportunity to, consume alcoholic beverages in the park other than Bechtold. So that was one. There are several other notes in that, in the rules and regulations. I just wanted to get those in front of you guys so that you had an opportunity to look those over and see if they were, if you felt that they needed to be changed. The other one was, Section 8 of the rules and regulations have been removed to be in conformance with House Bill 228. So that was in there and is no longer.
Jason, the only thing I'd say about that, there were some other items in Section 8, like you can't have a slingshot You can't have fireworks in the park. Those things would not be prohibited to regulate by the House bill. It's just anything to do with firearms or ammunition. So if you know, the members of the board feel that those things should remain in there, you know, those things I don't have a problem with.
Okay.
It's just firearms and ammunition.
Yeah. So I didn't know, did you guys want me to go through all of the notes that they had made?
I don't know if that's necessary. I know, let me just mention two things. Alcoholic beverages, I think it still should go to the trustees for permission to do that if there's a party of some kind. I don't know if the other,
I disagree, but.
Well, it's not going to the trustees now for approval. You just have to rent a shelter, right?
well, no, in that,
Okay.
on that alcoholic beverage.
My suggestion as to that would be for selling, absolutely, you should need permission from the township to do it. Consumption, on the other hand, because we already have.
Yeah, I'm
other
sorry,
public
I'm
in-
sorry. Yep,
We have
that's-
public intoxication rules also that would separately apply still, but if people want to bring alcoholic beverages into the park and are responsible with it, you know, we're in the new era of cocktails. to
Yeah,
go
I agree,
now and all
I
that,
agree with you.
so.
I agree with you on that. And the other thing, disorderly conduct, so the bathrooms are gonna be male, female, correct?
So I don't, when we discussed it, no one really said anything about changing. So any bathroom in the township would still say male,
Okay.
female. It would just no longer be in the rules that states who can go into what bathroom. So I don't, and that would just basically be removed. That's the only section in the rules that discusses, you know, section 13 in disorderly conduct. I don't know of anywhere else that it speaks about who can go into what bathroom. Or, you know, bathrooms, period, and the rest of the rules, so.
Well, that says it all, though. That's saying male, female. No person shall enter a toilet room set aside for the opposite sex, except for parents who accompany their custodial children.
Correct.
So we're okay.
No, they want to remove that.
So that's what they're asking, to have the entire sentence just removed, so that it's not even in the rules, and
Well, I think that should be in the rules. So, I think,
Does Mr. Desai have any comments on the current
I
legal
think
environment?
you
as to
leave
the-
that in there.
As to the gender wars and bathrooms here, is there anything we need to do under Ohio law as to that?
You know, I'll tell you, if the board is going to keep it in, then I should probably take a look with everything that's changed in the last 5 to 10 years on that. I'm not aware of anything sitting here, but I should probably take a look just to be prudent.
That would be good. I don't want to get into the gender wars here.
yeah, I don't know that you want to spend a whole lot of time just.
No, I mean, I just want to take a look,
Another 10 hours.
see what it says.
When I retire, you can hire me as a bathroom monitor. I'll see what people go in the bathrooms.
Yeah, I mean, I recognize the concern people have about this, of course. I think people can just be reasonable, on the other hand, too, with what's going on. But,
You're asking a lot.
yeah,
Where'd that work come from?
yeah. But the ban on lewd and lascivious conduct and all that, as you say, still applies regardless.
yeah.
So can I say, we're jumping around a lot without really giving Jason any
Yeah.
direction to go to on each one of these. Do you want to review them all and come up with comments for him?
Yeah, I think that would be fair.
Yeah, because the intention in this document to give you guys, so that you could look over it and then say, yes, no, we like this, we don't like that. That's
And
what-
we do that and come back to the next
Yeah.
workshop on the 17th.
Yeah.
And that's,
Yeah, that would be
that's
fair.
completely
That would
I
be
think that would be good.
Yeah. So the next thing that goes into, this will go into the October's meeting. That was the end for September's meeting. That's all I had for September. We are right now getting a survey together for questions for Parks and Rec. The committee is currently compiling questions for a survey that will go out to township residents to get a better idea as what they would like to see happening in the parks. So we had discussed this about probably trying to go out onto Facebook, our township website, the email blast that goes out to the residents, and if there are any other platforms that we could possibly, I would probably need to talk with Beth and see if there were any other platforms that we could try to get the information out to the township residents to kind of get an idea from them as to what they would like to see in the parks, or if they had any feedback before we started trying to get into any major planning. And then the next thing is the luminaria for this year, for 2020. The committee did vote in September to have the luminaria, but no hayride because of social distancing. And in October, we discussed it again, and they wanted to vote to have only a in-car event. So that was something that I think Tracy was also going to speak to. We weren't sure exactly what the event should be this year, if we were going to have it or not. And
So we've talked to the IGA. They're on board with whatever we want. They realize that they can't do the donuts like we used to, but they're looking into see if they can get their vendors to donate individually wrapped things. So we can still do the coffee and the hot chocolate if they serve it. Keep gloves on. We don't want people coming up, 300 people using the valve. The hardware store is still on board for selling the luminary kits.
That's Ace?
That's Ace, yes. So I know people are concerned about, personally, my opinion is if you're going to have luminaria and you're just going to sit in your car, I don't know what we're really going to do. We're not sharing woods. We don't have a lot of area to drive through that you can look at. Everybody's wearing masks these days, social distancing. I think we can, as adults, make our own decisions. If you want to come, you come. If you don't, you don't. I don't think luminaria is much of an event without the hay rides, but I will leave that up to you, gentlemen. I think we can all make up our own minds, but I'll leave that with you.
Tracy, do you have an idea of certain streets to designate for this? So that if they would have in your car?
We have streets that we have done throughout Dillondale. And before we do it, which is why we need to know soon, because we send out a letter to all the households to say, hey, your house is going to be on the luminaria route. Please decorate your house. Plus you can get the kits at Ace Hardware. We'd like to see a lot of participation. So we need to get that kind of stuff out soon, along with talking to IGA and Ace, and talking to Santa and Mrs. Claus, and the churches that do the caroling. We really need to get on top of this. We've usually are farther along in this by now, but with COVID, we're where we're at.
So you're looking at, okay, Santa Claus, churches, designated area, and a time would be from, what are you thinking, 2 hours, 3 hours?
6 to 8.
6 to 8?
And the Santa Claus is he's ready to do it. I did confirm with Santa Claus.
And that would be something where, we would probably have social distancing. We're not, obviously not going to have the kids sitting on Santa's lap. They'll have to stand here. Santa Claus will be sitting there. They'll talk to him.
Would Santa Claus be over at Bechtold, like?
Yes.
Okay.
In front of the fire.
Now, there's not going to be beverages and cookies like in the past, or is there? No,
Well,
there can be.
That's what we were saying. IGA is looking to their vendors to have individually wrapped
With the
cookies or
and
cakes.
how would you do the coffee or anything?
They would serve it.
They would serve it to you.
They would serve it by the cup. They would have gloves on.
No self-serve.
Or we would serve it. There's no self-serve, so everybody's not coming up touching it.
So I guess you're asking us, the only thing you're asking us about is, how do we want to proceed with the hayride, whether we want to do the
Yes.
hayride, we don't want to do the hayride?
Yeah. I mean, we're asking, do you want to have the event? Do you want to do it all together? Do you want to do it like we've been doing it?
You want to keep people in cars?
Do you want to keep people in cars? Do you just want to call it off and do it next year?
I think we should do it to the extent we can, but the hayride thing is probably going to be pushing it
Yeah.
with people having to climb on and off and be in close quarters. Can it be a walking event, maybe in a scaled down area or designated areas of the park and the neighborhood, but not as broad an area as hayrides might cover? Something like that?
I don't think that works.
I don't think that's going to work either because of the distance.
We've also talked about having routes and having the cars go through the route that we have, but then you're inundating the neighborhood with
Yeah.
traffic. I don't know
Right.
if we want to do that either.
Yeah.
I don't think that's such a good idea either. Especially through some of those pathways through Dillonville,
Yeah.
kind of tight.
Yeah.
Can we treat it, if we're not able to do all that, promote it still as a neighborhood-wide event, encouraging neighbors to participate and on their immediate blocks, maybe put things out and, gather and be festive without gathering too closely? I don't know.
You know,
Have Santa rove around in a convertible,
Yeah.
maybe. I know a guy with one who might be able to drive him around if the weather permits, and Santa could wave at people.
Without the hayride,
I don't think it's,
Without the hayride, it's really not.
you don't have an event.
Yep,
Yeah.
I
Right,
totally
we don't
agree.
have an event without it.
I totally agree. You know what, for Halloween, we said, look, if you want to participate, participate. If you don't want to participate, we're good with that as well. And I don't think that I have so much of a problem with the hayride. I think it's a popular thing. Maybe we don't bring as many people on to keep a little distance, if that works.
Yeah,
Everybody's
we
got to wear a
could
mask.
hang, we can space them out. We also have one that actually has seats.
Yep.
We can tape off every other seat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't foresee the big crowds that we've had anyway, although people are looking for things to do.
Yep.
So you may end up with a huge crowd.
You're
And it's
gonna
an
get a huge
outdoor
crowd.
event, so
Because people are looking for things to do.
You're tired of this.
Well, if you think you can do it with the hayrides.
how many of those buses do we have with the vehicles with the seats? Just one?
Just one
Just
with the
one.
seats.
And then there's the other ones with
And
the
then
hay.
2 hay rides on trailers.
You have to have enough people to police that to make sure, you're helping people up on that
That's what
hay ride
we
and
do
keeping
that
that
every
distance.
year.
we
Yeah, I
already
mean,
do that.
I
So.
know we do,
that.
but
We
I
have all
know
our guys there, plus we'll have to
the
have
spacing,
the sheriff's office there. We have them escort every wagon through the
Yeah.
neighborhood.
yeah.
Chief, any concerns from your perspective?
No, I agree with Tom. I think just have it, just have them distant and be, you might have a family sitting next to each other, which
Right.
is no big deal, but, you just let them distance themselves out. I don't think it's a problem.
Works for me then.
Yeah.
I'll go along with that.
All right, we'll proceed.
You're probably gonna have more problems with the crowd just around the shelter and
Right.
than you are
Yeah.
on a hayride.
Yep.
Deepak, do you have any concerns about any of that from a legal perspective?
I mean, the only thing that I would say is, we would advocate that people follow the governor's guidelines. So, if you can't be 6 feet apart, wear face mask. That would not be an optional thing. That would be something you're required to do. So if we're in compliance with the health board's requirements and, the governor's requirements, I think we're fine.
I think we could probably have some signs printed up, put on easels or something that people say, reminding people they gotta wear a mask or social distance.
Yeah, and we are giving masks out to all the children, Christmas masks.
Oh, great.
Oh, good, okay, so,
Tracy, will you be checking temperatures, that type of thing as well?
Not unless you're telling me I have to.
Well, being the attorney, I love as many layers
I know
of protection
you
as
do.
we can, so I would, I'd recommend, along with the mask and the signs, just if you could have, maybe a couple
I
folks from the fire
mean, we
department.
can, my point is, it's gonna be 20 degrees, those thermometers aren't gonna work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
plus you're outside.
You're
I
outside,
totally agree.
they're not gonna work
Are you getting masks then for
for kids, yes.
you get them made?
We've
We
already
already
done
have.
Oh, do you?
it. Yeah.
Cool.
you need any more guidance on that, Trace?
No, sir, you've given us the guidance we need, I believe.
Like, go for it.
That's all I had.
Trace?
Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Chief, thank you.
How are things going with the Parks Committee, by the way?
They're going, I think I struggled with our last meeting because we had it on Zoom and I did it from my house and then my internet connection was poor at best and it wasn't the best meeting we've had, but other than that, we've been doing really well. I really do think that the survey is probably gonna help out a lot because I think everybody's still trying to get an idea as to what exactly we're wanting to do. So, but other than that, I think it's going really well.
And with that survey, I would recommend that you gentlemen would look at that before we post that on any
Yep.
of our media.
Sure.
Good idea.
Thanks for all you're doing with that, though, and I know you've been out there promoting the yoga, putting the signs out each weekend in advance of that when that was going on, too, so very good.
Well, thank you.
You're doing a great job.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, the next thing I have is, I'm looking for a motion to advertise for our 2021 road program. Now, we are going to have a, if you remember, we are rebuilding Larchview, which is part of the Larchview Plainfield project, that we got a SKIP grant for to pay 50%. That is not part of this program. That will be our road program for the year to spend all our whole road budget will go into that program. This is a program that's being put together with the 25% of the unencumbered TIFs. You know, we met with Brenda, we went over all this with her, and this is a program that I put together. I don't have every detail completed, but I'm looking for a motion to advertise so we can go out. Some of the areas I'm looking to do, we're looking to do all of Heightmeyer. We're looking to do the Trowbridge neighborhood of Trowbridge, Weston, and whatever that other street is. Sometimes it eludes me right now. Quite a few streets in Dillonvale, the Macaulay and subdivision, Scoutmaster subdivision up north off of Fields Erdel, Tenderfoot, Concord Hills and Alwoods, Pine Cove, all those that I just mentioned there, along with Camner, Richmond, Queens, that area. Those are roads that we have been doing our preservation on, where we did our Cape Seal. These roads are all, they're about 21, 22 years old, most of them, and this is a great opportunity for us to rebuild these roads. We're gonna have to do that soon, but this gives us an opportunity to do that. We've gotten great success out of that product to be able to stretch our roads, which we used to pave every 12 years to 22, has been great, but this allows us to do that. Also looking to do Cougar Mill, which was last done 2001, so we're looking at 20 years old for that. And also the Kenwood Acres and Holiday Acres over here behind Jewish.
This is all mill and fill?
This is all mill and fill with some full depth repair.
Okay.
It is not a total reconstruct.
Gotcha.
It is a mill and fill, and with that,
Trace, any curb work in there?
there is some curb work, not a lot in some of the Kenwood, the Holiday Acres. A lot of this is ones that we have already done the curbs.
Gotcha.
And now we're coming back to do the paving.
Okay.
Gonna do some culvert work also, right?
There is some culvert work also in Dillonvale, so the roads I have estimated at about 2.9 million, and the culverts are about $500,000. I have 4 culverts that need to be done desperately over in Dillonvale. We are submitting next week for a grant to try to get money for 2 of those. The other 2 will not score well enough, so we want to do those anyway. These are all in Dillonvale, except for one. One is on Gideon. It's an 84-inch pipe up there that the bottom is completely rusted out. I mean, it's gone. The creek is flowing underneath the pipe, about
Gotcha.
5 inches under it, and washing it all out.
Where on Gideon?
Just off of Kemper Knoll, in that first big dip.
Okay.
It's a crossover.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking
Goes
about.
back
Yep.
to that yard.
Yep.
Yeah, that's an 84-inch pipe. There's a lot of water that goes through there. And then the other 3 are all culverts down in Dillonvale that have either, they all have erosion problems. 2 of them have head walls that have collapsed over the years, and the erosion is approaching the road. And the other one is never had a head wall, and is really, we have a bad erosion problem. So there's about $500,000 in culvert work.
I'll make a motion to advertise for our 2021 road program. I'll
Second, discussion. How much money do you think this is going to be, Trace? Did you mention a figure? Ballpark figure,
3.4 million total?
Yes,
3.4?
about 3.45,
And we have plenty of money in the 25%.
almost about the 3.5.
Okay.
How much do we actually have? What's 25% equal?
It's going to be about 4.5, I think.
Might we want to get a little more aggressive, or?
Well, we could, but I'm worried we're not
It's a
even
matter
going to
of
get
getting it
people to
all
do this.
done.
Well,
You know,
that's
we're on
true.
a timeline, we have to have it done next year.
That's true.
So that's gonna be the problem, to get, because this is a lot of work.
We got to get out there fast.
Yeah.
Call the roll. Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera? Aye.
You can't throw in a few roundabouts too or anything? But
I would love to, believe me. I love the one over by my house.
Maintenance only.
Yeah, maintenance only is what Brenda told us, maintenance only. So next, I have a resolution. I included this in your packet along with the bid tab. I believe you all should have the bid tab in your packet. This is very small. I gotta put my glasses on for this for sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the, as you can see, we had 8 bidders. Our engineer's estimate with contingency was 4.45 million. And the bids ranged from 3.905 million all the way up to 5.252 million. Rack and Baller submitted the lowest bid. We've checked them out. The engineer who, Choice One, has worked with them. I've talked to a couple of the townships that have worked with them. They say they think they'll do a fine job. They have had no problems with them. We want to proceed with this program. As you know, we've been waiting a long time to do Kugler Mill. I asked him the first time that we started our survey on Kugler Mill was November of 2015. So this project's been a long time coming.
Trace, how do you think we'll be with easements on that?
Easements are all taken care of.
We're all
already.
done? All of them?
We've got all the easements taken care of.
Oh, great.
We have all the poles moved already, all the electric lines moved. We have all the individual gas services lowered already. The only thing we have left, that Duke is supposed to start on that Monday. We had a meeting with them today. They said they're going to start Monday. There's a gas main that runs from Weatherfield down to Montgomery Road that needs to be lowered. And they'll have that done in a couple weeks.
Good.
So we should have no delay from either easements or utilities.
is that on the Weatherfield side of Kugler Mill?
It is on the Weatherfield side. So unless you have any further questions.
So this company, you're comfortable after doing your research on this company?
I am.
You haven't worked with them, but you've worked with the subcontractors, so you all know each other.
Yes.
And they came in under what was expected, that's correct?
Yeah,
So
they
you're-
came in quite a ways under
Yeah, that's,
bid. I have not worked with them, but I have worked with quite a few of the subs. As far as the company that's going to be doing the actual full depth reclamation where they chew it up, is basically the same subcontractor for everybody. Nobody does that in-house. So that's, you'd get that contractor no matter who got the job. But the concrete contractor is excellent. They're the ones that just did Sycamore Road. It's the same contractor there. So we are very comfortable with their subs. I have not worked with these guys, but their subs I have. But I have talked to townships that have worked with these guys. These guys just really got aggressive in the public market just a couple years ago. They've always done private work. And they seem to be really aggressive and doing a good job.
What was the number we anticipated this was going to be?
4.45 million.
4.45, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was 4.05, okay.
4.450179. And they came in at
3.905.
3,905,000 $976.15.
That's great. How long do you think it'll take, Trace, honestly?
It'll take all year. It'll take the whole construction season. That's a major job. So there is township money in this, county money in this, grant money in this, and waterworks money in this. So we are the ones that are administrating the job. We have been running the engine, we are the ones that contracted with the engineer. We're the ones that put it out to bid. We will be administrating it. We will be inspecting it. So we will have to encumber most of this cost. Then we will invoice the county. They will pay us back their share. Waterworks will send us 85% of their work, of their cost up front. And then we will settle up with them at the end, which I'm just now doing on Sycamore Road. And they've been great to work with. The county has been paying us back also. We've done this with the county quite a few times on different projects where we paid for it and then we invoice them and they reimburse us.
Well, you're going to make a lot of people happy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Guarantee you that.
That project has always been next year for as long as I can
It's been
remember.
next year for a long time.
So that'll be great. Now, a question here, that they're about $260,000 less than the next lowest bid, and going with the lowest bid is great here, certainly, but you're confident they haven't gone too far down where we're gonna get hit with some overcharges later, are you?
You know, I can't say that. I mean, you never know. But we've gone through, and the engineer's gone through. They have not missed anything in the bid. So as long as our engineer has done a good job, who I am very confident in, I don't see it. And the next one, Welsh, I have never worked with them either. Everybody from there up I've worked with, but neither one of the lowest have I. I wonder if that's why everybody's so high. They've worked for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Hazard pay.
Never want to come back there again.
So I am comfortable with it, our engineer was comfortable with it, so I think we're good to go.
Okay.
And they're 200,000, wasn't it 200,000 difference?
260, something like
Yeah,
that.
that's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
That's good.
So,
Okay. I had asked you, or asked Ray actually earlier today, and he checked with you to get a copy of our standard contract terms to look through for that, and I'm pleased to see one of the things we have in there is there's a documentation and audit clause in 13.01 of the standard terms, which is owner, which would be us here, will be afforded reasonable access during normal business hours to all of contractors' accounts, records, books, correspondence, instructions, drawing, receipts, vouchers, memoranda, and similar data relating to the cost of the work and contractor's fee, and they have to keep all that for 3 years. An audit clause, in other words. Have we ever exercised that with any of the contractors on the projects we've done in the past, though?
we have not.
Maybe we should pick a random case and do that, since we have the right. This has been in our contract for years, I assume, with other projects? Is that true?
Everyone that Choice One has done for us, I know it's been in.
Okay.
I don't know if it's been in all of them, I'd have to check that. That's something that we added not too long ago.
Okay. Is it in the one for what's going on behind us here with the new maintenance building? Is that a Choice One related?
No, that's Brandstetter.
Okay, what about Sycamore Road?
That was TEC.
Okay.
I'd have to check to see if it was in that one.
Okay, I'd be curious to know.
Okay.
So, it's always good to do cross-checks on things like that, so. All right.
Okay, so we have the resolution.
Yep, so I have a resolution approving and authorizing a contract to reconstruct a county road for the Cougar Mill Road Improvement Project and dispensing with the second reading.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion, roll call, Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
Mr. James.
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera, aye.
So the only other thing I have is a quick update. Sycamore Road, if you've been down it, is completely paved. They did a great job.
Looks awesome.
It looks wonderful. All the concrete's done. They've just got a little bit of restoration to do. They spread topsoil on the north side of the street today. They're doing a punch list. We walked it and prepared a punch list of some concrete work that needed to be fixed. It was mainly up at the west end, which has basically been, some of that's been done for a year now. So plus they had, where they were using our property up there for their laydown yard, so they have to restore that. But as far as the road goes, it's in great shape. They did a really good job. I thought they might go aggressively for Kugler Mill after being on Sycamore for 2 years, but as high as they were, I guess they don't want to work for me anymore. But Sycamore looks great, so I think Barrett's done a really good job on that.
Thanks a lot, Trace.
Back here behind us, we're still, they're getting there. They're pouring concrete tomorrow morning in the back. They're supposed to put the curb in down our driveway on Monday. And then all the concrete work on this end of the site is supposed to be done by Thursday. So we'll have access.
Finally.
Which Thursday?
Well, Thursday. I won't go any farther than that. So once all that concrete's done, we need to let it set so we can get some brakes, make sure it tests strong enough so we can move our salt, move our brine, so we can tear down the existing salt dome, and they can continue on that end of the site. So they've got several weeks to maybe a month left of work back here.
Great.
Other than that, things are going good. Leaf pickup, everybody not getting any complaints, so I guess the residents are happy.
The leaf pickup's going well, at least in the north, I can tell you. They're doing a great job.
Yeah, here too. They were in my front yard this morning picking
Yeah,
up,
they've been
so
buzzing
thank
by.
you.
That's great. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, that's funny. They were in all the trustees' yards today.
Meeting day.
That's just a coincidence.
Actually, I don't put them at the curb, I haul them in the back and put them in a pile.
Thank you, Trace. Our planning and zoning.
Wait, you know he's got a question.
Come on. So, I know I was included on an email you were responding to from Heitmeyer Farms from their HOA, asking about that Sycamore sign out there. Was it 15,000 you said that cost, or was it more? I forget.
I believe it was 24.
24. Okay, wow. It's very pretty.
Yes.
But we got a grant, was it for that?
Well, it's part of the Sycamore Road project.
Okay.
So part of that was paid with the federal grant, part of it was paid for with the state grant, because it's just part of the project.
Yeah.
We're trying to get that done with a lot of our projects. We're going to be doing it at Kugler Mill as part of that project that also has a state grant.
Mm-hmm.
Happiness Way, we're having it done. We're having the developer who, CIG's doing that as part of the Reconstruct the Happiness Way. So they are very expensive, but we're going to try to get those throughout the Kenwood corridor and try to get as many paid for as we can.
Okay. I know it was Rusty Sicking, who's their HOA president, was the one asking the questions, and his concern is one I've noted too, that when you get to Bayberry up here on Kenwood Road, it's very dark and very hard to see that sign, even with the newer sign that's there now. There used to be one of those old black and white signs a few years ago, so the newer one certainly catches the headlights better. But it is still dark and difficult to make that turn there. And I know we as a township and Heitmeyer have sort of joint control over the green space area there in front of the neighborhood. Is there anything we can do to better the illumination there, or is that something the neighborhood would have to do itself?
It's up to you, John. We can do whatever you want. I mean, that property is ours. As far as, we'd really have to check into that.
Is there a lighting district around there?
There is not a
street
light
light.
district over there. We can,
Establish a
if
street light district.
Heitmeyer wants to do that, they can look at a lighting district. Obviously, that would be something that they would pay for through Duke. But as far as hanging one of these lights, these lighted signs is a lot more work than just hanging a lit sign.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would be a huge
That would be
expense.
hard to do at that location.
Yeah. Well, another question, and we discussed last month the stop signs in Sturbridge and the three-way stop, and I had asked you whether it was possible perhaps to just do one at the T there rather than on Branford on the side streets, but where is that? Are they in already anyway, or were you able to make
They
any
are
progress?
not in. I was waiting to see what you wanted to do. I talked to the traffic engineer, and we can do just one, if that's what you want. You can tell Craig if that's what he wants.
Well, that would actually be my recommendation, would be to do a single one there where Weatherfield dead ends into Branford. I don't myself see the need for them on the side streets there. I don't know that they're harmful either to be there, but it does seem almost a waste to put them there because there's no cross traffic from one end of Branford to the other. Everyone is turning there. That would
Right.
require a motion to change it, I suppose, too, though, correct? So
The only cross traffic you would have would be people coming from that end, coming down, turning left.
Yeah.
In front of somebody there that's going, I mean, they'll be at a stop sign, so. If we did that, we'd probably have to put a sign up that said, cross traffic does not stop or something like that, so they know, so they don't just pull out when somebody's coming thinking they have a stop sign.
well, that's just a small little yellow thing you put there on the stop sign.
But if you want it to change, I'll have to come back with a new resolution, because we already passed it.
Did we do it as a resolution or?
We did.
I believe we did.
Did a resolution, I believe. Check. I've lived there since
We passed it
1970.
as a resolution to put all three in.
I'm curious about the other trustees' thoughts on that.
I've lived there since 1977, and I never recall an accident there. Not even a fender bender or anything. That particular area. And I know we had just, one or two people, one person that wanted to sign. And we agreed to go along with it, so.
Well, the neighborhood was behind it, but there was some concern about whether 1 or 3 would suffice. Tom, do you have any thoughts on it?
I kind of thought 3 was a good idea, but, I mean, I don't live back there either, so, I mean, are there a lot of people suggesting that 3 is a bad idea, or just 1?
1 does not like the aesthetics of it. A few suggested
that
they
was-
really prefer 1 over 2, but I think there were only about 10 to 12 comments one way or another anyway.
The rest of them were all in favor of more than 1?
They didn't express preference one way or another.
Or just happy with stop signs in general?
Right, yeah.
Go ahead with what we have, what we planned, you know.
I'm sorry?
Go ahead with what the resolution that we agreed on.
Yeah,
Let's
I mean,
go ahead with that.
I'm good with that.
I'm good with it, Tom, are you?
Okay, well then I'd be outvoted if I moved anyway, so, okay, very good.
We'll put them up
Is that
then.
You have a strong opposition to it?
No, just someone had expressed concern about the aesthetics of it there, so. That's all I had.
Thanks, Trace. Planning and Zoning Administrator, Skylar Miller, is up next.
Sir. I think I'll start with the simple item. We had a resignation on our Board of Zoning Appeals. Mr. Jim Eichman, who has served for several years, with our boards, and was recently the chairman of that board, has resigned. I think it's a pretty direct recommendation. I would just ask that we have a good candidate that's acting as an alternate right now. That's Tracy Hughes. She hasn't been an alternate too long, but in the time that she's been on, and previous experience with Land Use Steering Committee, I think she'll serve well in that capacity as a full-time or full-fledged member of BZA. We'll leave it to the BZA at their next upcoming meeting to organize themselves and appoint new officers. So, which now leaves if that's agreeable to the board, it would leave the vacancy as the alternate, and we have an upcoming newsletter, and we can advertise like we did last
good,
year, and let's get the word out, and try and get some fresh blood, new life on our boards. Not that there's anything wrong with our current group. Actually, I know I'm rambling a little bit here, but I am ecstatic about the composition of our boards. I mean, I've worked with a number of communities, and it's very hard to recruit for these positions. So with both BZA and Zoning Commission, very happy with the quality of the groups. So.
And Skylar, I think it's best practice, I'm glad you're suggesting that we'll move the alternate up and add somebody new as an alternate, and also allow the board to decide who they want to be chair of that group, because that makes most sense.
That has always been my experience. You know, these are professional groups. They're very good at you know, self-managing. I think we allow them to have a, you know, a business item on the agenda, and they can appoint from within. So
I'll echo that. I was on it for 6.5 years, and I agree with Tom and Tom. Good.
Well, I move that we appoint Tracy Hughes as a full-fledged member of the Board of Zoning Appeals.
And I'll second that.
Okay.
to fill the unexpired term.
To fill the unexpired term.
Right, thank you.
And I'll second that. Roll, Tom Newman.
Aye.
Tom James.
Aye.
Sybil Barbara, aye.
Okay.
And if I may, and your comments are well noted as to the composition of the other board as well, or both boards, but there are several zoning commission members whose terms are up at the end of next month, I think, who I certainly hope stay on. Have you had any discussion with them about that to confirm?
I have not. At the beginning of December, I'll reach out to them, make sure that they're comfortable, you know, continuing on. You know, again, there's, you know, we have a good and broad, you know, professional group. You know, they're coming from, you know, different areas of the township. They have different professional backgrounds. I think they all bring something unique and, you know, of quality to you know, their respective board. So yeah, I would love to retain them. If for some reason we can't, you know, then, you know, that's when we make the decision to advertise. So yeah, that'll be my recommendation coming in December once I speak with them.
Okay.
So. Okay. After that, so I have 3 resolutions on Reading Road for nuisance properties. I'm going to talk about these all 3 together, and I've got some. You know, there's been some issues over there recently, so you know, this is probably gonna this discussion is probably going to go in a couple different directions. But these 3 properties, 7979 Reading Road, 8001 and 8109 Reading Road. These are the Carousel and the Drake hotel motel properties, currently owned by Blue Tide. This is not the first time this year that we've had these properties up for review by the trustees. Earlier this week, I believe it was Monday morning, the southwestern corner of the westernmost building on the Carousel caught fire. I haven't seen any official reports on you know, the final cause of that fire, but I can tell you, upon, you know, my own personal inspection, Kevin's inspection, our fire inspector Doug Morath, you go out to the site, the individual units are they're open. They're not properly secured. There's obvious evidence that you know, there's some you know, vagrancy there. People staying, breaking into individual units. There's illicit dumping on site. The sites aren't secure. This summer we haven't been very successful with you know, getting, you know, any response out of Blue Tide. Due to this fire and through our fire inspector, we were actually able to make contact with the property manager, Chris Range, and so I was able to meet him on site again earlier this week. They want to be responsive, so we've given them direction on demoing the portion of the building that sustained the fire damage. They're proposing that they to secure the individual units. I've directed them. I've shown them everything that has to be cleaned up on site.
backing up a little bit here, I believe they did actually pay the bill that we sent them for cleanup last time. So that didn't just fall to a property assessment. But we've directed them to not only secure the individual units, clean up the property, but secure the parking lots, either fence, chains, bollards, what have you. My recommendation at this time, and I explained this to them, was that we should move forward with declaring these properties a nuisance, and then continue to work with the property owner, so long as they continue dialogue and we see progress. I would like to see these resolutions approved tonight, but we won't immediately contact our contractors that have given quotes to do cleanup. We'll give them the opportunity to do it themselves. Our informal agreement, conditional on what the board had to say tonight, was that we would pass these resolutions and I would give them till the end of the week, next week, to provide me with a remediation schedule. So I want a schedule in hand, and we're going to hold them to it. We're giving them the opportunity to set their own schedule, but there's something in writing that we can hold firm to.
Okay.
So, if you'd like, I can go through some pictures and we can look at.
I don't think we need to.
I think we all know that that's a serious problem over there. And so,
It's a mess.
Yeah.
So.
And for the public, pictures are in the record of the meeting and the documents published there if you're curious.
Absolutely. So with that being said, I have 3 resolutions, all essentially the same. Actually, Deepak, if I may, can I read these together and name? No? Okay. It was worth a shot.
Deepak, could you leave the room?
Can I combine these? Okay. All right. So let's see here. I'll start with 7979. Resolution providing for and authorizing removal of vegetation, garbage, refuse, and other debris, and declaring a nuisance for the property located at 7979 Reading Road, Sycamore Township, Ohio, 45237.
Motion.
Second.
Okay.
Roll. Mr. Wiegman.
Aye.
Mr. James.
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera, aye.
Okay. Resolution providing for and authorizing removal of vegetation, garbage, refuse, and other debris, and declaring a nuisance for the property located at 8001 Reading Road, Sycamore Township, Ohio, 45237.
Motion. Second.
Roll. Mr. Wiegman.
Aye.
Mr. James. Mr.
Aye.
LaBarbera, aye.
All right, and resolution providing for and authorizing removal of vegetation, garbage, refuse, and other debris, and declaring a nuisance for the property located at 8109 Reading Road, Sycamore Township, Ohio, 45237.
Motion. Second.
Roll. Mr. Wiegman.
Aye.
Mr. James.
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera, aye.
And I will keep the board apprised of the progress on this site and any communications, significant communications I have with the property owner or the reps.
Any questions for
No.
Mr. Miller?
Did you have anything else?
I have one other thing, just as part of a general report. Just to let you know, the applicant who held a open house, Grand Communities, aka Fisher Homes, I've already told the board before, they have applied for zone change in PUD 1. This is the proposed plan as of today, and that they will be making their first application to Zoning Commission this coming Monday, November 9th. So based on what happens there, it'll of course be in front of Board of Trustees at the following regular meeting for public hearing. There has not been any substantial change in the plan since the open house. We'll see what the presentation has to offer, or the applicant has to offer at the
November 9th meeting, and I'll make full report to the board then.
Any questions, Tom?
Nope.
Tom?
Have you gotten any public input about that yet since the application was made?
I have not, and it has been properly noticed. There is a sign out front. Surprisingly, I have not had a single member of the public request any information.
Have they signed up for the Zoom access to the meeting?
I have no members of the public that have requested access to that.
Interesting.
Yep.
You
All right,
probably
we'll
will.
move on.
Okay.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the trees on Kugler Mill Road on the berm by the Tri-Health building still haven't been replaced.
I
have
know.
they? Yeah.
We did reach out to Five Star through their attorney, and but we got a commitment from them that they would replace those. So I will hit them up again.
Okay, thank you.
But they're on record saying that they would do it. There's 3 dead trees. I mean, it's pretty obvious where the cut through was.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, and I know you've been in touch with Moeller after some concerns about neighbors regarding lighting there, and that's something still in the works.
Yep.
So very
So
good. Thank you.
Moeller installed new, just to fill in everyone, Moeller installed new LED security lights for the northern area of their parking lot. The lights are facing north, and based on their angle and orientation and the intensity of them, they're probably they're casting some serious shadows and throw into the neighbors' properties up there on Kennedy and those homes back there. It's a legitimate. Kevin actually drove out there at night. I've seen numerous pictures. It's a legitimate complaint that the neighbors have. We've been working with Moeller to have them address it. There's some delays because the solution they came up with requires new components that had to be ordered. The electrician has to get back on site. Should have been done by now, but just everything is hinging on this electrician getting back out there. They told us that the simple fix for now, even though it diminishes their security of their site, would be to just turn the lights off. There was a miscommunication on that apparently, and they didn't do it last night. So I'm told that tonight will be the first night that those lights are off.
Very good.
The solution is going to be to angle them down just a little bit more and put them on a step dimming. So as it gets darker, they will dim out. So.
Hey, thank you very much, 'cause as soon as we got that, sent you the email, you got right on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our law directors, Mr. Deepak Desai, with his report for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple items. First, on a personal note, as many of you know, my father passed away on October 24th, and for his funeral service on the 31st, the township sent a very, very nice bouquet of flowers. So thank you, everybody, for that. Really appreciate you thinking about us during our time of need. Business, I'm happy to report that I am here tonight with a check in the amount of $85,558.96 made payable to the Sycamore Township Board of Trustees. And this represents a refund of taxes that the township previously paid on the old Taco Bell site. So as you know, as the process works, we have to wait till after the year of acquisition before we can apply. And then it takes a little while for the Department of Taxation to issue their ruling. But they issued us, and I'm going to put it in quotations, a favorable ruling. But before I go into that, I'll just pass this along to Mr. Warrick, if that's okay. You all saw me give him the check. So, but the ruling is what they call a split decision, or split ruling. They did not deem the billboard and the land attached to the billboard to be tax exempt. So we won the majority of the battle, or we won part of the battle, depending on how you look at it. But there is still part of it that is going to be taxable moving forward. The date of the determination letter was September 30th, 2020. We have 60 days actually from the date we receive it, but like any good lawyer, I always go off the date of the letter. So we have approximately until the end of November to decide whether or not we're going to appeal it. Mr. Warrick and I are going to discuss the pros and cons of that, and I'm sure at the November 17th meeting we will come to you with a recommendation on whether we should appeal or not. But the good news is the township's about $85,000 richer as we sit here today.
What is the additional tax amount that we might gain if we were to contest it and win?
You know, I have to go back and calculate that because it's all one parcel, right? And so, you know, I'm not even sure, quite frankly, how the auditor does that when you've got one parcel. So I was actually going to call down to the two people I know down at the auditor's office who will have an answer for that and get that figured out. But Mr. Warrick and I will talk about that, and at the November 17th meeting, we'll be prepared to answer that question and provide your recommendation.
I guess that leads to another question, too. Where in the Ohio Revised Code is a township permitted to own a commercial billboard that it leases out to advertisers? Is that even something we should be doing?
Well, I mean, you know, as
it's prohibited, right?
I mean, there's nothing that I'm aware of as I sit here that would prohibit that. I will be glad to take a look, but you know, for example, the city of Wyoming has a commercial district that they own, and it's not tax exempt because it is a commercial district that's revenue, you know, designed to raise revenues. So, you know, as I sit here, I don't have any particular issue with that. You know, I guess the one thing that the township would want to look at is what is it going to pay in taxes versus the revenue it gets off the billboard, because you obviously want to go with the better financial alternative. But I'll take a look at that and be happy to report back on the 17th.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Ray Warrick is the Sycamore Township Administrator. Ray?
First item is a resolution for our property casualty insurance. We've been working with the same broker for some time now. My experience with him is very, very good compared to other insurance companies I've worked with in both private and public sector. I did not go out and try to shop this. When he originally came in, they had wanted to increase our annual, we pay the premium annually, our annual premium from about $61,000 to $66,000. I suggested to him, I asked him why it would go up and suggested that he go back and re-rate us and come back and take another shot. 2 days later, he called me and said, guess what, we'll just go back close to what you were paying. So the $61,313 that is in this resolution is about $200 higher than what we paid last year. So absence of shopping the whole thing around, I think we've had great service from these folks, and the fact that we're not really going up in the cost of the premium, I wanted to propose to the board that you pass this resolution and allow me to go ahead and extend for one more year with this company. I'll read the title unless there's comments or questions.
Question, because of the amount of this, with it being over $50,000, it's not something we're required to put out for bid or shop around?
We actually have a 3-year agreement on this. This is the 3rd year of it.
Okay.
That was approved 3 years ago.
Okay.
So a resolution approving a contract for property and casualty insurance and dispensing with a second reading.
Motion. Second.
Roll. Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera? Aye.
Okay. We've had a flurry of activity today. We've been trying to, or somebody's been trying to get the appropriations to match the certificate that was approved at the beginning of the year, actually last December, and I was not included in that effort. And I got involved in the effort this morning when I was brought a stack of large POs to approve, and so I quickly went back and checked our accounting software to make sure that the amounts I was going to ask you to approve were duly appropriated. At the first look at that, they were not all of them. So we went back, talked to Mark Hurst, who was working with Debbie to do this, and made adjustments a couple times. And I think we wrapped this up at 5:30 this evening. I didn't have a time personally to go back and check every line. I think we're okay. And so what I'm going to ask you to do this evening, this is in the order of the way these things should work. And typically we wouldn't do them all on the same night. So I'm going to do them in the order that, they should be done. And so the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is approve a resolution that's going to authorize, looks like 9 transfers of funds. And what we're doing there largely is we're transferring funds from the JED districts to other operating funds so that we can have enough reserve in those operating funds so that we can do the next step, which is appropriate. This is the step that typically over the recent years, I guess, was done after the fact at the end of the year. So even though we're doing this late again, at least we aren't waiting till the end of the year. And I am hopeful that when we do the budget for next year, that I'm able to get this resolution passed ideally in December to set us up for the next year. And then we'll have all of the numbers. We'll still have to probably come back and ask for more in certain situations, but at least we'll have the system set up in the proper way. So the first resolution is asking you to approve that we can make these transfers. Questions before I read the title? A resolution authorizing and directing transfers of funds to reconcile budgets and appropriations and dispensing with a second reading.
Motion?
Second.
Second.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. LeBarbera, aye.
Thank you. The next resolution now, the next step in this, since now we have transferred those funds and put the reserves in a position that they have substantial, they have the right amount, or a substantial amount in the reserves, we can now ask you to help us appropriate more so we can close out the year paying the rest of our bills. So this resolution has attached to it the chart of the increases and decreases in these funds, and there are some decreases. I will note that. So we identified areas where we had money appropriated and we're not going to use it. So there are some decreases. The net of this, after this is all done, then the appropriations will be correct. I'm fairly certain they're correct. I have not been able to check them all. And so the monthly report that you looked at earlier had appropriations of, I can't remember the number, but the real number right now, if you approve this tonight, the real number of appropriations, if you approve it tonight, we'll get amended certificate, which I think we're already squared with them, and we should be able to get that issued. And the appropriations then would be at $50,127,079.93. Any questions before I read the title?
No.
A resolution amending 2020 appropriations, dispensing with the second reading and declaring an emergency.
Motion? Second.
Roll. Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. LeBarbera, aye.
Thank you. All right, so the next step is you've appropriated the money, and now we have some large POs. that we can ask for your approval because we have enough of appropriated money to draw from. The first one is purchase order 8631A. This is for fire utilities. It's a blanket kind of PO. It is in the amount of $15,000. Ask you to approve that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Just a question, what are fire utilities? Utilities for the firehouse?
There you go.
Okay.
Okay, roll.
Plain as
Mr.
day.
James.
Aye.
Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera, aye.
The next large PO is 8577C. This is for fire operations. Once again, it's kind of a wide blanket the way we're doing it. This would be fire operations stuff. And the amount of this PO is $30,000.
Motion to approve. Second.
Roll. Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
Mr. James.
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera, aye.
The next one is PO 8691, and this is for fire capital items. And this would be in the amount of $30,000.
Motion to approve. Second.
Roll. Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
Mr. James.
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera, aye.
The next is PO number 8689. This is to do some refunding of the 2016 various purpose bonds that we have. This is done every year. At this point, we pay some principal and some interest. It's paid for out of 2 of our TIF areas, and the amount of this is $540,350.
Motion to approve.
Second. Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
Mr. James.
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera, aye.
Next is 8690. This is to pay principal and interest on our 2014 general obligation bond that is left, and that's out of one TIF, and the amount is $139,225.
Motion to approve. Second.
Roll. Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
Mr. James.
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera, aye.
Next is 8697. This is for the mall holiday security for that 1 week in between Christmas and New Year, where for some reason in our country that's become a week to have young people act up in shopping centers and the like. We helped since the security was stepped up at the mall during that week last year, we helped supplement the coverage, and I spoke with the new GM over there, Dave Jacoby, and we walked through what he originally had asked for more, and I showed him where the total bill included the normal detail that the mall pays for. We just paid for the supplemental part, so he's got that clear now. So I think we spent about $8,700 last year. I took into account kind of the same number of hours we paid for, and also there's been an increase in the detail, went up by $1 an hour, both for people in the detail and the officer in charge. So I'm asking for PO in the amount of $9,000, which should be sufficient to cover it.
Motion to approve.
Second. Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
Mr. James.
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera, aye.
The next is 8694. This is for Baston and Company. That's the company that did our audit. This is their final or total bill, $5,500.
Motion to approve. Second.
Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
Mr. James.
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera, aye.
8695 is the next purchase order, and this is to the Bureau of Workers' Compensation. Our estimated annual premium, and I'm glad they used the word estimated because we're going to send them this money and we're likely to get a bunch of money back shortly. And this is in the amount of $91,101.
Motion to approve. Second.
Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
Mr. James.
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera, aye.
Purchase order 8692 is for the Kemper Gold Coast Deerfield debt. In that TIF there, this is the principal interest payment, and it's in the amount of $169,750.
Motion to approve. Second.
Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
Mr. James.
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera, aye.
And I hold in my hands the last purchase order, 8696, and this is to to pay the Cincinnati Public School District out of the Redstone TIF. Unlike all the other school districts we pay, we only pay Cincinnati once a year, so that's why this amount's so high. But the amount is $261,049.92.
Motion to approve. Second.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera? Aye.
Okay, the only other thing on my list was just an initial discussion of how you want to set the meeting schedule for next year. You know, in the December meeting, we're going to have a whole stack of resolutions that set in place parameters on various things, and this is usually one of them, and I thought it might be a good idea to get the board to discuss this and get some idea where you want to go before we do a resolution.
And I wanted to address this. My suggestion is we drop the workshop meetings and make those workshop meetings scheduled whenever necessary, and instead go to 2 evening meetings a month at 7 o'clock, and I'm suggesting that we move the meetings to Tuesday evenings on the first and third Tuesday of the month. First and third Tuesday of the month. And looking over the schedule, there's no conflicts with other township meetings on those days. So again, workshops as needed, 9 a.m., 10 a.m., whatever time you want to do, and set the time and a date for evening meetings, regular trustee meetings on the first and third Tuesdays of the month.
Those would stay at 7 p.m.?
At 7 p.m., that's correct.
So,
And also, I would say with that also, Deepak and I were talking about when we get the resolutions in and the paperwork in, and Deepak's suggestion was to get it in by a Wednesday. We always set these dates that we're going to get things in, but as we saw today, it ends up coming at the last minute. We can always set that, but it's, and then you said emergency ones would come in on a Friday. And that was a suggestion.
The idea would be, and it's just a suggestion, but it's the way I've seen it done in other political subdivisions that I work with. Let's say you have a Monday night meeting, the rules of the governing body will state that the regular agenda has to be out to the council members, the trustees, by 6 p.m. the Wednesday before that meeting. And then you have deadlines that back up from that, which is that by 11 a.m. that day, anybody who wants something on the regular agenda, whether it might be Mr. Kellums or Mr. Miller or Mr. Warrick, would have that submitted so that the person handling the agenda and document packet has 6 or 7 hours to put it all together and get it out to the trustees. Now, that is also coupled with the process that then on Thursday, if all of a sudden you discover, we need to address something, Wednesday's gone, on Thursday, if something comes up, you can bring it to the attention of, in our case, it would be Beth. I need to add something to the agenda, and you could have a supplemental agenda go out on Friday morning. But the purpose of this is so that we don't have a bottleneck as we approach the meetings where things are getting put in at the last minute. It just makes things flow smoother. So that would be the suggestion. And, I would suggest you do that in the broad context of, adopting rules and procedures for the trustees. I think there are other things that can be addressed in that as well, but if you could bring it all into one document and then lay out how the agenda process works, I think that would be something that would benefit everybody.
I've been looking at the rules and procedures and trying to create a copy as a template anyway for something for us to look at, and we could all weigh in on that.
Yeah, if you go to American Legal Publishing, they do Indian Hill, they do a lot of municipalities, so you can see how other, political subdivisions structure their rules and procedures. But I think that would be a useful thing to have just for, meeting start times, the order of business. For my purposes, and I think for best purpose, knowing that we can, at a certain point in time, say, okay, we don't have to worry about other things coming in, we can get all this together. Tracy, you look thrilled at that idea.
Can I go back to the dates? So we're looking at the first and third Tuesday of the month, 7 p.m., correct?
7 p.m., yeah.
So on January 5th would be our first meeting, and typically, oftentimes we would skip that meeting because there was no business. I mean, everybody was off for a whole week between
Yeah.
Christmas and New Year, and
Well, we've done that in the past.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're going to actually set a resolution in place that's going to dictate our meeting times, and I think it would be important for us to include that as an exception if we want to do that. I think it makes a lot of sense because there's really no business at that time. So
that.
So do you want to go ahead and just have that resolution prepared for next month?
That would be great. Yeah.
And then we'll only meet on the third Tuesday of January, not the first.
Right.
Okay.
Now that is a holiday. Now that's fine.
Yeah, so the first Tuesday is January 5th. We will not
Yeah.
meet on that
Correct.
Tuesday.
Yeah, and then
We'll
the
meet on the
19th. That's good.
And then, of course, like we had come up with election day
We're gonna
this
have-
year, that was not something I believe that was in last year's resolution. So the board's always got the ability
Yes.
to amend this on the
Yep.
fly if necessary. So-
But I think if we're putting a resolution together, we might as well try to include those things that we can already
That one we know.
forecast.
Yeah.
And I guess the only other one would be November, there'd be election day, November, the first Tuesday as well. So
Yeah.
we probably want to include that in the resolution also.
I'll do that. Thank you.
I have conflicts sometimes, so this may require us to adjust our zoning boards. Like Martin Luther King,
That's true. Good point.
we would typically, since we're closed on Martin Luther King, we would push the zoning board meeting to the following Tuesday.
Can you bump it to the next Wednesday or something? Just adjust.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to
Yeah.
adjust. I mean, of course, they're subordinate to the trustee schedule. So, but the sooner we can establish this, then we can start working on a revised schedule for our
And you can
boards.
cherry pick your days just off the calendar because you'll know when you're going to have a conflict.
that's fine.
So November 2nd would be the other date that we would exclude.
Tuesday next year.
Yes.
Just consider the looking at December right now. So we're scheduled for a Tuesday workshop on the 1st, a Thursday meeting on the 3rd this year, and then a workshop on the 15th, the current
correct.
schedule. So then we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks basically until our first meeting of the year.
I mean, we could conceivably move that 15th to the 22nd, but it doesn't create a problem for anybody else. That way it gives us a little more space.
Right, yeah, that would be good.
Okay, so the 15th.
You got a lot of people off that week.
Well, that's
Oh, the week of the 21st?
Yeah.
Well, that's true, it's Christmas week.
I mean, you can always call a special.
We could call it, the only thing, the 5 weeks in there, I mean, we may run into a problem paying some bills, so we would call a special meeting.
Yeah.
The only other thing I would throw out there, as some of you know, I represent another jurisdiction that meets on the second and fourth Mondays, but we're doing the first and third Tuesday. So I was worried because you mentioned MLK and then Columbus Day, but I won't have that issue because it's the opposite week. Okay.
There's a couple other things, I guess. Number one, have we talked to Rob Ebel to make sure that he's available on those days? I guess we haven't.
Guess we need to do that.
We need to do that.
Elliot's nodding yes, so.
Well,
Yeah, he's got
Elliott's
other
giving us
folks.
the high sign.
You're good?
We're good.
He said we're good.
Okay, perfect, okay. And one last thing, I guess. I was on a Zoom call with the governor and Bill Seitz on last week, and I brought to their attention that we really needed, as you know, the Zoom for us to meet remotely expires December 1st. And so I got assurances from Bill Seitz that they will fix that problem and the governor agreed that he would sign it to extend it. I did not get a commitment on the extension date, but I suspect that it probably will bring us through probably the springtime is my guess, because they're
Way it's going.
anticipating increases in COVID. So whatever it's worth, I think that wouldn't really alter our timetable. It would only alter how we go to,
Right.
how we go to meetings.
Yeah. I do think it is a good idea here to also go to the 2 evening meetings a month rather than the workshops. I think it's more accessible to the public to be able to come in too. And it always struck me as a little silly or duplicative to have a meeting on a Tuesday morning and then Thursday of the same week.
Yeah, I
anyway.
think originally the Tuesday meetings were staff meetings, so we would get
Yeah.
together with staff and and it was geared more towards being a staff meeting
Right.
more than a full-blown public meeting,
But with that noted, question for Deepak about this, and just with meeting noticing requirements and having to notice special meetings, if we determine at some point we do need to have a workshop on the other hand, would it make sense to go ahead and schedule workshops expecting most of them to be canceled so they are already part of the regular schedule, or is that just overkill?
I think that's overkill.
Okay.
I mean, I think the township has a pretty good system for providing notice to the public and those folks who have asked for it in particular, so.
Okay.
I'm fine with just going with the established meetings on the first and third Tuesday, and then, we'll do the special ones as needed. I suspect as we get into it, it'll end up being that we have at best 3 or 4 of those throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did a lot of phone calls and almost every township. Anderson has one workshop, but everybody else workshops as needed. Workshops as needed, and most of them said no. We seldom have them. Okay, next is the trustee.
Can we, before we do that, can we just go to one other thing for Ray?
Do you want? Okay, you're going to draw up a resolution for the next meeting.
I was going to draw it up for the December meeting.
Okay, yes,
Is that
that's
okay?
good.
Yeah.
Good.
I received a contact from a Dillonville resident who is complaining, and they're telling me, I don't know this to be fact, but they're telling me that their neighbors are all in the same boat, and that is the Rumpke driver has told them that Sycamore Township contacted Rumpke and told them not to pick up anything except what's in the trash can. So if they lay an extra bag down or an extra box down or whatever, they're not picking it up, they're leaving it there. And I don't know who at Sycamore Township would possibly
Why
tell
would we do that?
tell the driver to do that.
I can tell you they're doing it because they're doing it at my house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they're not doing it at my house. I've had a bunch of stuff out, and
I leave
I mean,
everything,
seriously,
they take it.
They take my
blaming
stuff.
They
us
used to
because they
take
don't wanna do it.
everything, now they don't.
So I think this is an isolated Dillonville situation, and it's probably the same driver is my guess. And so I guess we probably need to contact Rumpke and try to find out what the heck's going on, because this has been happening now for, I think they told me, 4 or 5 weeks.
Can we have can we have an address of at least one of them?
It's on Mantell.
8563 Plainfield Road.
Yeah, there you go.
Are you sure?
Hey,
Do they
Tracy,
know who you are?
It's also on Mantell as well, the whole street.
who do you want to have? Who do you want to have
People in
contact
Mantell.
them? Who do you want to contact them?
I'll take care of it.
Tracy?
I think Ray could
Ray
do
can do
that.
it? Okay.
I'll take care of it.
Trustees' comments?
Yeah, I want to thank Mr. Eichmann, Jim Eichmann, for his 12 years of service to Sycamore Township as a member of the Board of Zoning Appeals, with 8 of those as chairman of the board. Mr. Eichmann has been a pillar of our community, both in business as well as serving the community through his extensive charity work. Jim retired from Cincinnati Bell as the VP of Sales and went on to consult with various companies, including a 3-year stint with Hawaiian Telecom. He has served on many charitable and civic boards besides his time on the Board of Zoning Appeals, including the Boy Scouts, WCET, Little Sisters of the Poor, the boards of both Moeller High School and St. Ursula Academy, and he served as member of the United Way Citywide Cabinet. Jim is also a 20-year member of the Cincinnati Rotary, one of the largest Rotary groups in the country, and serves in a leader capacity of volunteers at the Western and Southern Tennis Tournament. Jim's daughter was recently transferred to Florida for her job, and as of a couple of weeks ago, Jim has purchased a new residence in Florida to spend more time during their winter and be closer to his daughter. He felt that it wouldn't be fair to remain on the board when he may have conflicts on attendance. I want to once again thank Jim for his dedicated service to our community and wish him all the best in his well-earned retirement. And then
How many years did you say?
he was on for 12 years, 8 as chairman. And then the only other thing I want to do is clear up something that happened at the last meeting, and that was, Mr. LaBarbera, you had suggested that I had sent a text to Mr. Warrick on February 6, 2019, when in reality I did not have you said you were suggesting that I knew Ray, and I didn't know Ray. And let me just finish this, please.
Sure, go ahead.
And so what I actually did was, I received a text from two people that were at the Civic Association meeting, both of them telling me that Mr. Warrick had suggested that Tom Weedman might be a, quote, big government guy. And so they both sent me the text during the meeting. And so I, in turn, went to Facebook, and although it says you're not friends on Facebook, I went to Facebook and I sent him here's a copy of it. I sent him a Facebook message saying, I'm a little surprised you think I'm a big government guy. Curious what would give you that impression, which of course he didn't respond to. But I wanted to clarify that I went to Facebook to do that, and I did not text him, because that implies that I had his phone number and I knew him, when I was trying to explain to you that I didn't really know Ray.
Yeah, well, most people don't, just text somebody, but I understand now. But I will say that I was at that meeting. I only went to 2 Civic Association meetings, and I'm not a member of that group. But he did praise you a lot. Praised you a number of times.
Okay, well, I appreciate
in that
that.
meeting, about 3 or 4 times. He praised you, and
So I just want to clear that up, not because of what he said or didn't say, but because I wanted to.
Okay.
You implied that I had his phone number and I knew Ray before this, and I really didn't know Ray, and that's how I communicated with him. And I'm happy to submit this for the record so that we can put it in there if that is required. But that's all I got today. Thanks.
Mr. James?
I will just add, as to Mr. Eichmann's service, that's greatly appreciated in the township. I've sat in on many BZA meetings where he was the chair, and he was very able at running the meeting and keeping it moving along. I was critical of him recently over an incident which occurred, but I certainly recognize his long service to the township, and it's very much appreciated. So, thank you.
And I worked with him for 6.5 years on the board, and he did a very good job, I don't have any comments. I'm glad the rules and procedures for the meeting, Deepak will kind of do maybe we can have some ready for the next workshop, maybe even get an outline or some kind of a form going and work with the guys and see what we come up with. And as far as announcement changes for scheduled meetings, events without changes, see our website calendar. Next trustees workshop meeting is Tuesday, November 17th at 9 a.m. We're going to go to executive session now. It is...
Excuse me, I just have one question. Usually there was on the agenda communications and comments from the fiscal officer.
Do you have some?
I do.
Okay, would you pass them down to me, please?
Sure.
I'll read them.
As we're doing that, we were talking about the schedule. I do have a question. We had a records commission meeting set last month, I guess, and then it was postponed for some reason. Is that reset yet?
No, but it will be.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Are we required to do that each year?
Yeah.
So we need to do it within the calendar year?
Yes.
Okay.
Nobody checks if you don't, but yes.
Most people don't.
Okay, we do have 2, and as I said before, we are not going to acknowledge or read publicly anything that is defamatory remarks about anybody on the board or any administrator or any employee in the township. It hasn't been done in the past, and it ended today. It ended tonight.
So there's going to be no more further communications?
No, there
from
can
the
be
fiscal-
communications, absolutely, we want communication.
I didn't see anything on the
Wait a
agenda.
second, excuse me, let me finish.
Okay, but I just want to know
We're
what's the
going to get
changes.
back to these people, and I believe I've already contacted both of these people. So when you get a negative thing, and you have never done this in 12 years, have you ever attacked a member like you did?
I'm not attacking anyone.
Well, you
These
certainly
are
did.
communications that
Well,
were
that's right.
directed to the township that I've
And
been...
that's fine, you just heard what I said. We have already contacted, as a matter of fact, I'm looking at both of these emails, and if you can get in touch with these people also. Whenever they send an email, you get in touch with them.
They didn't send it to me.
Well, they sent them to the township, I got it, I responded to them. Yes, you did, it says that you got it.
I did get it,
Yeah,
but
you got it.
because it came through the township. It came to the township.
Yeah, well,
not-
did you get it? It says your name on it, on both of these.
No, of course I got them. I got them sitting
Okay,
in
well,
front
then
of
just
me.
respond to them. We're gonna respond, and we're not,
So I just want to, so.
No, so it's a privilege, it's not a right to either stand up and speak or to send an email.
So from now on, I have to run every
You give
communication
them to
past
me and I'll
you
read
before
them.
I.
You give them to me and I'll read them as the chairman of the board.
And that's
Then that's from now
the
on,
changed
yes.
procedure now.
Yes,
Has that been discussed with the other trustees, or did you just agree
I'm making that now, and any of the trustees can read something if they want, but you're not gonna read something that's
So I'm not going to be reading anything anymore.
if you have something you wanna read that's complimenting you or Tracy or Penny, go ahead and do that. In looking through a dozen years of correspondence, there's never been a negative thing said
Well,
about anybody in the township, and there was.
We've never gotten 50 communications before either.
Okay, we're going to make a motion now at 9:29. We've already gone over this over and over and over again the last few minutes. We heard from you.
This was,
We heard from you.
I saw the agenda today, and I saw for the first time that there was no communications and no fiscal officer's comments. I didn't know, I wasn't aware that the trustees had decided to remove that from
Do you
the
have a comment
agenda.
you want to make? Go ahead and make a comment.
Huh?
Do you have something you want to say?
Yeah, how do you unilaterally make a change to the agenda that we've had for months or years on your own emotion?
This agenda changes all the time. And talking to other townships.
Okay, so you're all about transparency and all, and
Yeah, well, wait a
unilaterally, you just remove communications from the.
No, we
agenda.
have communications. We absolutely have
In
communications.
Rob's defense, he's saying that we had a slot on there for communications. that-
Well, we'll put a slot
by
back.
Mr. Porter,
We will
and
put the slot, we just got the
I
two
think
that
he
we
was-
had.
What he was doing is questioning why it was removed, and if it was removed because you, Mr. Chairman, you had removed it, or Mr. Warrick had removed it. He's trying to find out why he was removed off the, I think that's a legitimate question.
Okay, it's removed from there.
I know it's removed. He wants to know why, or who did it. Who made the decision to take him off? That's what is that what you're asking?
That's exactly what I'm asking.
I'm assuming that's okay.
I said to take it off.
Okay.
I said
That's
to
what
take
he's
it
just
off.
asking. He's asking you the question.
I said to take it off.
Okay.
I
He
said
asked
to
you
take
the
it off.
question.
And from now on, I'll read the
So
communications.
that's all he wanted to know. He wanted to know who made the decision.
Yeah,
You
I
just
mean,
got
I
done
don't
telling
know
us you
how
did.
he
That's good.
became in charge of that anyway in the first place.
Gentlemen, if I could suggest, it's 9:30, can we move on to executive session?
Executive
I would agree. I
session.
make a motion to go into executive session. To
We're gonna
adjourn into
motion-
executive session where the law director Deepak Desai is permitted by Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22, preparing for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining session with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment.
It is now 9:31. I'm inviting back to the motion, to the meeting. Let me get this in. Chief Penny, Tracy Kellums, Skylar Miller, Rob Porter, the three trustees, Deepak, and Administrator Ray Warrick.
So Jason, you're excused.
Okay, well, I seconded the motion. We have a vote.
Then
Yes.
vote, Mr. Weedman,
Aye.
Mr. James.
Aye.
Mr. LeBarber. Aye.
Sure you don't want to stay.
Thanks, Jason.
We offline?
We are now back in our regular session. Take a roll call. Mr. Weedman?
Present.
Mr. James?
I am here.
Mr. LaBarbera here, and Mr. Deepak is here, and also our Administrator Ray Warwick. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Please stay safe and healthy. It's 10:17.